Hey, gamers! Welcome back to Low-Spec Laptop Gamer, where we push low-end systems to their absolute limits. Today, we've got something special for you. Silent Hill 2 Remake. Yes, the classic horror game reimagined, but how does it perform on a humble i3 without a graphics card? Can it still scare the life out of us, or will the frame rate drop kill the tension? Let's find out. So, I was super hyped to play the Silent Hill 2 Remake. Downloaded it, fired it up, and immediately set it to 720p because, well, we know the drill here. To my dismay, I was greeted with a slideshow, running at a thrilling 10 to 11 FPS. It was like watching James wade through Silent Hill in slow motion. Unplayable is an understatement. But hey, hope wasn't lost. Thankfully, the game lets us drop the resolution to the glorious 1024 by 768, aka Retro Gaming Mode. With that, I managed to squeeze out around 20 FPS, which isn't great, but let's be honest, it's kind of playable, right? Sure, it felt like I was playing the original 2001 version, but it's a horror game, so the grainy look actually adds to the atmosphere. Let's call it immersive retro horror. One strange thing though, Silent Hill 2 Remake supports FSR 3, but enabling it actually made things worse. I lost a few FPS, like, what's the point of a performance booster if it slows you down? So I turned it off and voila, the FPS improved slightly. Weird, right? It's like the game was trying to keep me humble. Overall, performance was decent, but it really felt like I was playing the remake in the resolution of the original. Oh well, a little nostalgia never hurt anyone. And considering the insane minimum requirements for this game, I was just glad it didn't blow up my laptop. Now, let's talk about the game itself. When I first heard Bloober Team was taking on the Silent Hill 2 remake, I'll admit, I was a bit skeptical. I've played some of their earlier titles, and while they've definitely carved out a place for themselves in the horror genre with games like Layers of Fear and The Medium, there was always something missing. It was like they were almost there, but not quite hitting that masterpiece level. You know, that special, undefinable it factor that makes a game stand the test of time? I wasn't sure they could pull it off, especially with a franchise as iconic as Silent Hill. This is the game that put psychological horror on the map. It's a huge undertaking, but I'm happy to report that with this remake, they've come really close to cracking the code. From the moment you step back into the foggy streets of Silent Hill, the atmosphere is intense. Bloober has clearly poured a lot of love into recapturing the original game's eerie tension, and you feel it from the first few minutes. They've managed to keep the haunting, psychological narrative intact, the one that messes with your head, leaving you questioning everything, but with a fresh coat of paint that doesn't stray too far from the original vision. The story is as unsettling as ever, and as someone who's a huge fan of the original, I was thrilled to see they respected what made the 2001 version a masterpiece while modernizing the game for today's players. Let's talk about gameplay changes. One of the biggest updates is the camera. The old Silent Hill games were known for their fixed camera angles, which added a layer of discomfort and unpredictability. Now, in the remake, we've got an over-the-shoulder camera like in most modern third-person games. Initially, I was a little nostalgic for the fixed angles, but I have to admit, the new camera works. It's more fluid, and at times, it really amps up the tension. You never know what's lurking just out of view, and it's perfect for those jump scares. It's claustrophobic in all the right moments, which adds to the feeling of being trapped in this decaying, twisted world. But there's one gameplay tweak that really threw me off, the modern health indicator. In the remake, when your health is low, the screen goes red. You know, the classic low health vignette we see in almost every action game nowadays. And let me tell you, it completely breaks the immersion in a game like Silent Hill. The red screen felt so out of place in a game that's supposed to be subtle and psychological. The original didn't need flashy indicators. You could tell James was in bad shape just by watching his movements and hearing his breathing. My advice? Turn off the health indicator ASAP. Trust me, it's better to keep the immersion going and rely on the animations and audio cues. They're really well done, and it'll make for a more authentic experience. Speaking of authenticity, I was impressed with how much care was taken to modernize the gameplay without losing the essence of the original. Bloober didn't just slap a fresh coat of paint on the game and call it a day. They've added new areas to explore, which is a welcome surprise for returning fans like me. It expands the story in ways that feel natural, not forced. These new elements blend seamlessly with the old, enhancing the experience without feeling like filler. So while it's not a 1:1 remake, the new content adds depth to the story without messing with the things that made the original game a horror classic. It's like they've layered new horrors on top of the old ones, and it works. Now, I'd be lying if I said performance on my low-end PC was perfect. It wasn't. But honestly, I was surprised at how well optimized the game is. Even though I was playing on low settings, the game still looked decent. Sure, I wasn't getting the high-definition graphics most people are raving about, but it kind of added to the nostalgia. It felt like I was playing an old-school survival horror game with fewer pixels and more imagination. And let's be real, the fog-covered streets of Silent Hill are creepy no matter how many pixels you're pushing. In fact, the lower resolution might even add to the unsettling vibe, if you think about it. In the end, Bloober Team did what I didn't think they could do. They respected the original while updating the gameplay for modern audiences. It's got the same haunting story, but with new layers to uncover, and the updated controls make it more accessible without taking away from the terror. So, while my experience on a low-end PC was more like playing the original with a few extra glitches, I was still able to enjoy the game. Silent Hill 2 Remake is, at its core, still the unsettling psychological horror we know and love. And even if you're on a low-spec system like mine, the game is worth giving a shot. Just be ready for some serious throwbacks to those retro, pixelated days of gaming. To wrap it up, Silent Hill 2 Remake is an ambitious project, and Bloober Team has done a commendable job bringing it to life. On my low-end system, performance was a mixed bag. 10 FPS at 720p was a no-go, but lowering the resolution made it at least playable, hovering around 15 to 20 FPS. It's not ideal, but if you're nostalgic for grainy horror games or just love the franchise, it's still worth a try. Just be ready to make some graphical sacrifices. The gameplay itself is fantastic, with new areas and content that expand the world of Silent Hill without ruining what we love about it. Sure, there are some modern touches that don't quite hit the mark, but overall, the game retains its dark, disturbing charm. So, can you play Silent Hill 2 Remake on a low-end PC with no graphics card? Technically, yes, but just barely. If you're rocking an i3 and integrated graphics, you'll get through it. But maybe don't expect the most immersive, high-def horror experience. Still, it's impressive how well it's been optimized, considering the hefty requirements. That's all for today, folks. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more low-spec gaming content. Leave a comment below if you've tried Silent Hill 2 Remake on your potato PC, and let me know how it performed. And as always, keep gaming, even on low settings. See you next time on Low Spec Laptop Gamer.